I 28 male met my best friend through my older sister about 6 years ago. He was her college roommate's brother, and we clicked immediately at a 4th of July barbecue. We both loved the same obscure indie bands, could quote entire episodes of the same TV shows, and had the same twisted sense of humor. When I got divorced 2 years ago, he was there for me every step of the way. Let me crash on his couch for weeks when I had nowhere to go. Dragged me out of the apartment when all I wanted to do was wallow. Even helped me move into my new place, a small one-bedroom I could barely afford on my bookstore manager's salary. That's why what happened 3 months ago hit me so hard. It was a Friday night after a brutal inventory week at the bookstore. All I wanted was pizza, mindless TV, and sleep. Then my phone buzzed. Need to talk. Emergency. Coming over. 20 minutes later, there was frantic knocking. When I opened the door, my friend pushed past me, face pale and sweaty, clutching a gym bag to his chest. "Dude, what's going on?" I asked, following him into my living room. He paced back and forth, running his hands through his hair. I'd never seen him this agitated before. "I messed up," he said finally. "I really messed up. Whatever it is, we can figure it out," I said. "Just tell me what happened." He unzipped the gym bag and pulled out stacks of cash bound with rubber bands. "What did you do?" I whispered. "I needed money," he said, voice shaking. "My gambling debts were piling up. I was desperate." "Where did you get this money?" "My boss keeps cash in the office safe," he explained. "For emergencies, vendor payments. I've seen him enter the combination 100 times. It was easy. No one will notice for weeks." My stomach dropped. He worked as a manager at a local car dealership. His boss, Mr. Thompson, ran the place old school. I met him a few times, gruff but decent guy who gave my friend a chance when he needed it 3 years ago. "You stole from Mr. Thompson?" I couldn't hide my shock. "I had to," he snapped. "These guys I owe, they don't mess around." They were threatening to break my legs, or worse. "How much did you take?" $47,000, he said, looking down at the bag. I felt dizzy. "Are you serious?" "A real friend would help me hide this," he insisted, showing me the money again. "Nobody will ever know. I just need to lay low for a while, keep the money somewhere safe until things blow over. Then I'll figure out how to put it back, a little at a time." I stared at him, this person I thought I knew better than almost anyone else. The friend I knew wouldn't steal. The friend I knew wouldn't put me in this position. "I need your help," he continued. "I can't keep this at my place. What if they search it? Can I leave it here for a while?" My mind raced. If I said no, what would he do? But if I agreed, I'd be an accomplice to theft. A felony. "Let me think," I said, buying time. "There's nothing to think about," he shouted, then immediately lowered his voice. "You're the only one I can trust with this. Please, man. I've always had your back." It was true. When my ex-wife cheated on me with my former best friend, he was the one who helped me through the darkest days. He'd sat with me while I cried, took me on a road trip to clear my head, and helped me start rebuilding my life. "Okay," I heard myself say. "Leave it here for now. But we need to figure this out properly. You can't just hide the money and hope everything works out." Relief washed over his face. "Thank you. I knew I could count on you." After he left, I sat on my couch staring at the gym bag. The weight of what I'd just agreed to press down on me. I couldn't sleep that night, or the night after. 3 days later, I made a decision. I couldn't live with this. I called him. "We need to talk about the money," I said when he answered. "Not on the phone," he hissed. "I'll come over tonight." When he arrived, I laid it out for him. "You need to return the money. All of it." His face hardened. "I can't do that. I already used some to pay off the most pressing debt." "How much?" "About 12,000. I took a deep breath. "Then you need to come clean to Mr. Thompson. Explain what happened. Maybe he'll understand. Maybe he won't press charges if you agree to pay it back." He laughed. "Are you insane? He'll call the cops immediately. I'll go to prison. And what's your plan? Keep the money here forever? What happens when they discover it's missing?" "By then, I'll have figured something out," he insisted. "I just need time." We argued for hours. I tried every angle I could think of to convince him to do the right thing. Nothing worked. Finally, he left, saying he needed time to think. The next day, he texted me, "I've thought about it. I'm going to fix this my way. Don't worry about it anymore." I called him immediately, but he didn't answer. I drove to his apartment, but he wasn't home. I tried his sister, but she hadn't heard from him either. A week passed with no word. Then, Mr. Thompson was on the local news, announcing that a significant amount of money had been stolen from his dealership, and they were offering a reward for information. My heart sank. My friend had clearly not returned the money. The gym bag was still hidden in my closet, minus whatever he'd already spent. I knew what I had to do, but the thought of betraying my best friend made me physically ill. I sought advice from my sister without revealing specific details. If someone you cared about did something really wrong, and you were in a position to turn them in, would you? I asked her. She studied my face. This isn't hypothetical, is it? I shook my head. Is anyone in danger? She asked. No, not physically, but someone was hurt financially. Then you have to do what your conscience tells you is right, she said, even if it costs you the relationship. That night, I made my decision. The next morning, I walked into the police station with the gym bag. The detective who took my statement was professional but direct. Why did you wait so long to come forward? He asked. He's my best friend, I said simply. I was hoping he'd do the right thing on his own. By the end of the day, my friend had been arrested. When the police searched his apartment, they found evidence of his gambling addiction, loan shark contacts, betting slips, and threats written on notes. They also found a plane ticket to Mexico scheduled for the following week. He had never planned to return the money. He had been planning to run. When word got out about what happened, my phone exploded with messages. His sister was devastated but thanked me for coming forward. My sister said she was proud of me. Even my ex-wife reached out to say she respected what I'd done. But the most unexpected message came from Mr. Thompson himself. Your friend betrayed my trust, he wrote. But you showed real integrity. That's rare these days. If you ever need anything, my door is open. The most painful message was from my friend's mother. She called me in tears. He's been struggling with this gambling addiction for years, she said. We tried interventions, therapy, everything. When he got the job with Mr. Thompson, we thought he was finally turning things around. I'm heartbroken, but I'm glad the truth is out. Maybe now he'll get the help he needs. I hadn't known about any of this. He had hidden his addiction from me completely. I thought back to the times he'd asked to borrow money, the mysterious calls he'd step outside to take, how he'd sometimes disappear for days. It all made sense now. 2 weeks after his arrest, I visited him in jail. The glass between us felt like a physical manifestation of what our friendship had become. You betrayed me, he said, his voice hard. I trusted you. You betrayed Mr. Thompson, I countered. You were going to run to Mexico and leave him with nothing. It was a victimless crime, he insisted. The dealership has insurance. That's not the point, and you know it. You stole from someone who gave you a chance when you needed it. So, you decided to play judge and jury? Ruin my life because of your moral high ground. Your choices ruined your life, not mine. He stared at me for a long moment. Everyone else abandoned me when I needed help. I thought you were different. I tried to help you do the right thing. You refused. The right thing? He scoffed. The right thing would have been standing by me. A real friend would have helped me hide it. A real friend would have never put me in that position in the first place, I said quietly. We sat in silence for a minute before he finally spoke again. I don't want to see you again. I nodded. Understanding this was the end of our friendship. I hope you get help. I really do. As I walked out of the jail, I felt both a crushing sadness and a strange sense of relief. I had lost my best friend, but I could live with myself. The aftermath wasn't what I expected. I'd feared people would see me as a snitch, a traitor who turned on his friend. Instead, I received message after message from people expressing respect for what I'd done. My coworkers at the bookstore brought me lunch the day after the news broke. It takes guts to do what you did, my manager said. Even some of his gambling friends reached out, one of them confessing they'd been worried about his spiral, but hadn't known how to intervene. 3 months later, he took a plea deal. He'll serve 18 months and have to pay restitution. His lawyer believes the relatively light sentence was partly due to my testimony about his character and the fact that I had returned most of the money. Mr. Thompson did something unexpected. He agreed not to press for the maximum charges if my friend committed to addiction treatment during and after his sentence. Everyone deserves a second chance, he told the court, but not a third. I still have moments where I question my decision. Was there another way I could have handled it? Could I have gotten through to him if I tried harder? But then I remember the plane ticket to Mexico, and I know he had already made his choice. Last week, I received a letter from him. It was short, but hit me hard. I'm starting to realize you were right. The therapy here is helping me see how messed up my thinking was. I'm not ready to forgive you yet, but I understand why you did what you did. Maybe someday we can talk about it. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was something, a recognition that perhaps standing up wasn't betrayal. It was the only real way to be his friend when he couldn't see clearly himself. I don't know if we'll ever rebuild what we had. Some bridges once burned stay that way. But I hope that when he comes out, he'll have a chance to start fresh. And maybe he'll understand that sometimes being a real friend means being strong enough to say no when everyone else would have said yes. For now, I'm focusing on rebuilding my own life. I've started taking night classes in accounting. Something about this whole experience made me realize I have an aptitude for numbers and ethics. My sister teases me that I've found my calling because of this mess.